What's the one thing that you've been convinced you need in order to heal in therapy? It's so obvious you might not even think of it. It's a therapist. For many decades, psychologists and researchers have claimed that the single most important factor of successful therapeutic healing is the interpersonal relationship between the therapist and the client. Today, I'm here to tell you that this is wrong. Yep. After 2 decades practicing as a psychotherapist and a quarter century clawing my way toward my own healing, I agree that what helps someone create self love instead of self loathing, happiness and peace instead of fear and anxiety, depression, it is relational. Yes, it is based in a deep, two-way conversation of listening and sharing. However, that relationship is built on an inner conversation we have with ourselves. So, how does this work? Essentially, it's a two-phased approach, which I'll explain momentarily. But first, who am I and how do I know? Hi, I'm Rachel Kaplan. When I was just 14, my first love killed himself. And that tragedy annihilated me. And my high school therapist is in the audience. Desperate for relief, I embarked on a 25-year quest scouring the world's healing technologies and becoming a professional companion for those on the healing path. And on this journey, I uncovered the revolutionary key to self-healing, and it's no more complicated than pooping. Yep, pooping. Think of it like this. When we were young, we were taught how to respond to the intense sensations in our guts, signaling that we needed to poop. We were potty trained. Emotions are similarly intense sensations, also signaling that something needs to be moved through and out of our bodies. Unfortunately, most of us weren't taught this. So we attempt to spend our lives avoiding these uncomfortable physical, emotional sensations through distraction, consumption, and shoving them down, deep down. This leads to addiction, disease, other health and life problems. Collectively, we're living with unprecedented levels of emotional and mental distress. People are numb, emotionally constipated, and underneath that, they're hurting. It's a mess. I've got good news though. That two-phased approach I promised will help. Better news yet, the healing power doesn't hinge on any external relationship with a therapist or otherwise. The healing power is within you. I call this approach emotional potty training, may as well, EPT for short. Let's look at the first phase of EPT. You can call it parts work. This is about finding and re-inviting the parts of you that got hurt in your young life. Most of us cast these parts out or repress them, so in order to feel whole, we must bring them back online. Here's how you can understand how parts fragment in the first place. When we were vulnerable babies, we were biologically wired to know that without love and connection with our primary caregivers, we would die. Therefore, before we could even think or use language, we're willing to do whatever it takes to keep our caregivers close. If any aspect of who we are at this time causes them to get upset or criticize us, we will generally eliminate these qualities from our authentic expression. Picture a mother getting glassy-eyed and distant as her daughter cries unconsolably. Imagine the effect of a father shaming his son for walking on his toes or expressing vulnerability. Our families shape us out of aspects of ourselves. And then as we grow up, we are similarly conditioned by wider and wider cultural circles like school, social media. Metaphorically, this is like taking these parts of us and caging them in an emotional basement closet, denying they exist and praying they don't show up at the most inopportune times, like on a date or, oh no, while giving a TEDx talk. This repression causes great suffering because the parts we reject are our most sensitive and in touch parts. So we end up feeling lost, rudderless, like frauds and imposters. This leads to feeling like there's something wrong with me. I'm not enough. I'm not lovable. For anyone who's been there, you know how excruciating this is. And my guess is all of you can relate. Deep breath. Remember EPT? So this first phase of EPT is about going down into the basement and from just outside that closet door, introducing ourselves, apologizing for pushing them away and letting them know, I want to know you. We must be patient and persistent in this reacquaintance phase. We must rebuild trust, proving to our cast out parts, but ultimately to ourselves, that we are now capable of being the loving, consistent caregivers they've always needed. How do we do this? Great question. Initially, we must check on them each day. Tune in to their wants and needs, and then shape our lives around these. What does little Mikey like to eat? Who does little Jenny actually feel safe with? When we do this consistently with curiosity over time, they feel safe and they open up and share the tremendous pain they're in from being cast out and beat up by our caregivers, sure, but ultimately by us. It's true what the band Radiohead says. We do it to ourselves. We do. And that's what really hurts. Now, despite this truth, when we care for and listen to these parts, they, which means we, feel more lovable, less full of it in the fraud sense, but more full of it in the emotional pain sense. And this brings us to our second phase of EPT, emotional release work. This is where you learn to move your feelings through you like a good poop. Imagine relieving decades of emotional constipation. Emotional release work is about bringing your awareness inside to track the physical sensations of emotion in the body. Where is that intense cluster of pain? Oh, your heart is heavy and achy. You have a fast flipping feeling in your belly. We must track these signals. We must allow them to be as they are until they bubble up and move through and out of us. Sounds easy, right? There's a problem. Most of us have so much judgment toward and shame of our feelings that we don't allow ourselves to have them. We don't genuinely care for the parts of us that are hurting. There is a solution, and it's found in the emotional release step called conversing. Here's how it works. First, you get to personify your pain as another person and just simply engage it in a conversation. Think of it like little you, your kid self. You could even look at a picture of yourself as a child to help you connect to that part. Now, if that makes you go, ew, and you don't feel curious or compassionate, think of little you as another child, or even animal, any being you can lovingly embrace. Now ask yourself, if your child or your niece or your fur baby were sad or scared, how would you respond? Would you admonish them? What's wrong with you? You shouldn't feel this way. Like you might when you're talking to yourself. Or would you wrap your arms around them and say, I'm here. It's okay that you're sad. You're allowed to be scared. So we must lovingly ask these personified pains in us how they feel and what they need, and then just listen. Eventually, the sensations will start to move. Your eyes may fill with tears. You may feel the sudden rageful urge to beat your bed. Now remember, never direct that energy or emotion at another person, including yourself. Also, you should know it might not happen right away. Stay patient, but keep trying. As you get good at compassionate permission, your emotional release will become as natural and easy as your pooping, which I do hope is easy for you. I've heard it's not easy for everyone since I started talking about it. So, when we engage in these deeply healing inner conversations, we are bridging the parts of us with the most love to give, with the parts of us most desperate for that love. And then one emotional movement at a time, we feel lighter and closer to being our whole healed selves. Through the path of emotionally potty trained inner connection, lasting personal and therefore collective transformation is possible. And the best part, this healing power is absolutely within you. Thank you.